Welcome to Turning Chaos into Clarity for 2026. And if you have gone through a bumpy year, there's been a lot of chaotic messaging in our culture at large, and political scene, financial scene, even our day-to-day, things like shopping for groceries have become more expensive. So there's a lot of changes and things that have happened in the world at large that are affecting us on a daily basis. And even the headlines, if you've been watching the news or paying attention to headlines, and when I took journalism courses in college, there was kind of a tagline that said, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. So the idea is that a lot of our headlines are written for the dramatic, to catch our attention, to put us on edge, to make us, click that button and dive in and kind of see the drama. So if that has been your experience, you're in the right place. We are looking at, with the chaos that happens in the world, there's often some ways that that can affect how we process and also how we plan for the future. Now, there's some ways that we want to look at specifically. If you're familiar with me, my business is the Brain Trainer, and we look at there's different levels of the mind that are processing for us and with us as we're going through the experiences of life. And one kind of foundational element that will make a lot of sense to you if you've had some bumpy results with things like law of attraction or manifesting, and especially in this past year, is recognizing our mind operates in layers. I like to use the image of an iceberg. So imagine an iceberg, there's the top part above the water. That's a much smaller portion, but that top of the iceberg, just like that phrase, the tip of the iceberg, it's a smaller amount of our mind is operating there. At the conscious level, this is where we're setting goals. We are planning. We are getting our action plans together. We are creating our manifesting list. I am going to do XYZ this year. But the bigger part of the mind is below the surface. It's that lower part of the iceberg that we don't see. It's the 90% of the mind, and it is running programs automatically. It's just continuing to run, whether it's old programs from the past or things that have been set up more currently. It is responsible for the results that we are getting most of the time. So this is one of the challenges. In the last couple years, I've run some visioneering workshops at the turn of the year, and we're really kind of focusing into creating clarity and focusing our goals and projecting that into the future. And over the last couple years, especially, I've noticed that there's some problems with manifesting. Now, there are some ways that it has worked really well. In fact, one year I specifically wrote the whole list. Here's what I'm creating for each of the areas of life. And then through self-hypnosis type sequence, which I'll give you the ways that you can do that kind of near the end here. But in self-hypnosis style, when you tell yourself brain-friendly goals and use repetition to remind your mind to focus on those, it actually gets into your unconscious mind, your automatic mind. So here's some of the, oh yeah, so I wanted to share my results with that. This one year I tracked everything and was pretty consistent for the first 2 months. By the end of the year, I looked at that list that I had created. 75% of those goals that I had defined, I could check them off. And they kind of just came about naturally. I didn't have to, get myself up at 5 a.m. to run, to run 2 miles or whatever it was. They just kind of happened organically. The opportunities showed up. So that is one avenue of working with your goals in the coming year. However, I want to mention that in the law of attraction world and manifesting world, there's some ways that they're falling short of what is actually going into the results that you're getting. And there's a couple problems that I have with kind of that manifesting world. And one is that it has kind of a simplified, oversimplified focus. That if you just focus, and I've been working with, these law of manifesting since The Secret came out, maybe, well, actually, even before that, through my own experience, recognizing that when I get a focus and there's an internal alignment to it, that things can just happen like clockwork. But here's one of the problems that the manifesting world is setting up. And the idea is just focus and it will come to you. But it's missing some very key elements. It's missing that at the conscious level, we can bring our focus to this thing that we consciously want. But again, noticing that image of the iceberg, the top part above the water is 10%, 90% is under the surface. So if we bring our focus to, say, 30 seconds a day to focus on that goal, it's not necessarily enough to override what our unconscious mind is already manifesting. So think of the unconscious mind as kind of an automatic generator. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your perspective is operating automatically. A lot of that is created from our past experience, and it's kind of working automatically. So we can be focusing on something at the conscious level, but if our automatic mind isn't on board with these things that we're consciously wanting to create in our life, then it will just kind of have those conscious opportunities will just kind of bounce off. That they come up, but that they don't pan out. Maybe we have the experience of getting excited about a track or something, and then people cancel on us, but something doesn't work out with the timing, or things are just not lining up quite in the way that they need to in order to work out. So by just consciously focusing, we're actually missing most of what's going on is really under the surface at that 90%. And another avenue that we're getting in the way with consciously defining or manifesting is that at the conscious level, we are picking our goals more from ego, for our personality self. And our personality self has, like the list, if you look at marketing and advertising, for a while there was like a lot of ads about do this one process and make millions of dollars. And there's the person with the brand new sports car and the huge house and all of this. And we get excited about that from our personality self. But if the unconscious mind, that automatic mind, is not in line with the results from that conscious goal, then it goes sideways. We get interference. And this is especially true when we go through times of chaos and conflict, that it can actually set up more ways that our automatic mind is creating interference with the things that we want to create. And ultimately, what we're looking for is to create clarity and congruence between these conscious things that we're focusing on, but also allowing our goals, our focuses to be more informed from our expansive self. Think of the expansive self as the intuitive self. It interweaves into our soul's agenda, and how all of these things are lining up with the timing in our life and the sequence of what is actually meant for us to experience in our lives. So a couple of those key problems. One, is a lot of law of attraction is focusing on kind of that conscious goal that we're missing the deeper understanding of what the unconscious mind is actually wired or geared for. And another way is that our soul's agenda, our intuitive self, our expansive self, may or may not be in agreement with the things that we're consciously focusing on. And if we've gone through the school of hard knocks, times of conflict or chaos, it can leave kind of imprints in our unconscious mind. It can leave fears running automatically, and those fears create interference, almost like it spins off the positive, as we're focusing consciously, it's spinning away those goals actually coming to fruition or those opportunities from actually showing up. It can also leave imprints, and these are like belief systems or things running in the background, kind of as if we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Oh, when something good happens, something bad happens. I actually had this in my early 20s. I just bought, my first car all on my own, got the loan through the bank, and I was so excited about this car. It was an Isuzu Trooper, white car, had a car rack on top, and I was driving to my wilderness program. I was working as a backpacking wilderness guide. I was so excited about it. I was just like blasting the music and kind of bouncing in my seat as I'm going down the road. And as I'm headed down the road, steam just starts, not just steam, but black smoke starts pouring from the engine. I pulled over and the car was kaput. The engine had actually died. The person that I had bought it from had emptied all the oil from the engine, and it basically blew the engine up. But they do that as a way of covering that there's an oil leak. So it doesn't look like there's an oil leak because there's no oil in the engine. Anyway, caused a little trauma, but it's kind of that cycle that if things get too good, then the other shoe drops or something bad happens to kind of offset our joyful high. So these are all some of those elements that are wired into our unconscious mind. So if you've had a difficult year, had some chaos or conflicts, if you've had challenges with kind of the political system or the financial system, how things have affected your life, then it can also set up things like that chaos in the outside world if we're not being vigilant about how our mind is set or what our mind is tuned into. It can actually create interference in our energetic system. Some of those ways are fears, underlying worry patterns. This is one that shows up as I work with people in rewiring anxiety a lot. This one shows up pretty consistently. That if the mind is stuck in a worry pattern, what if this, what if that, then it actually drives anxiety. So you can clear anxiety from the emotional system, but if the unconscious mind is generating what ifs and second guessing and catastrophizing, it's going to recreate that anxiety energy, and that fear actually creates an interference with our nervous system and how our mind, our body, and our system are working together so that we're actually deflecting the right opportunities that we want to see showing up. So there's 4 key ways that kind of law of attraction, how it's generally taught, is leaving us flat. And so we're going to do a deeper dive tonight into really recognizing how do we kind of create clarity? How do we, if we've gone through those challenging times, how do we clear out the interference of the mind, create more space to reinvent what's important for us in moving forward? And then also by how do we heal the past from the chaos and the conflict? We're going to talk about that specifically. and then how to integrate to a new level of expansiveness or a new level of intuitive connection to what is actually on the agenda for this next year, and then refocus into the future. So I would suggest that there are 5 key elements or steps to helping the mind, body, soul system actually reset into the new year. And the first one is to identify. Identify the challenges, identify the wins. This can take some time for reflection, recognizing what worked, maybe what interference you noticed, maybe what got in the way. So identify, take some time, and here's a couple of really good questions that are helpful with that. I'll pull up those question lists. So one, I like starting with the wins. What worked for you this last year? What worked? What can you give yourself credit for? And maybe what traction did you make? What did you move forward? A lot of times when we're going through challenging times, we forget to take stock of our wins. Even if our wins are small, it's still part of what is, those wins are still feeding into our future. And when we have bigger challenges, sometimes our mind can get stuck on those big challenges or big changes. And then we miss the good work that we did that's actually paving the way for what's next for us. So the first kind of set of questions, and if you have your journal handy there, go ahead and just give it some reflection. What worked? What did you move forward in 2025? What can you give yourself credit for? Where did you get traction? I'll just give you a couple minutes to kind of get some notes, writing that out. There is some, I've been a journal, an avid journaler for many years, and there is some magic that happens when you're physically writing things down. The feeling of the pen on the paper and just how our brain forms words and then puts it into action with a pen, just it has some magic to it. There is some extra traction to it. So those first 3 questions, what were the wins? What did you move forward? What can you give yourself credit for? Now, the second one is, what were the themes of last year? So themes are things that just keep replaying. Themes can also be noticing things in maybe the world at large, the political environment, and seeing some kind of small reflection in your own life. So for instance, for a while there was big trend about recognizing narcissism. Narcissism or effects of narcissism, and what was the theme of it? Theme of it might be bullies. Theme of it might be misuse of power or overpowering people. Feeling like you're second guessing yourself. Now, I'm just using these as examples. Everyone's individual life can have different themes, but often there are trends where the bigger picture of life is also reflecting into our own lives and what we are sorting through and what we're clearing out. So notice what themes, and if you could kind of pick your top three themes. For me, as I look back in this year, definitely I got practice on communication and keeping boundaries, and even keeping boundaries with love rather than conflict. And now this helps. Here's a great coaching question that we often say in the world of coaching, that if you can look at the challenge that you've been going through and ask the question, what was the lesson? What did I learn? That it helps give some clarity to that. And it also helps to ease the sting of the conflict. So there's a process that I teach called transformative reprogramming of the mind that teaches the mind how to more easily, quickly, automatically, we call it recycling, recycle negative events. So imagine taking those negative times and turning them into positive lessons and learnings. And we're going to go through kind of a quick experience of that here in a moment. So that second set of questions is, what themes did you notice? And recognize your top three. And now the third area is, what is the chaos, the conflict that you can let go of? And to let go of this, we're going to do recognize the challenges. What did you learn? Every challenge in life is asking us to strengthen something within ourselves, that we get the practice of staying centered. When life is chaotic, life changes, we get the experience of keeping centered, or we get the experience of defaulting to emotions and reactivity, if we've had that experience in the past as well. So the third element here is we're looking at challenges. And just go ahead and define your top three challenges that you went through. And those top challenges, even however uncomfortable they might be, it's not in focus. Okay, there. So however uncomfortable they might be, the reason why people say life is hard or this challenge was hard is typically because of the emotions that we went through from those challenges. Those emotions are knocking us off center. The emotions are uncomfortable. They just don't feel good. And then if we have had great emotions, we say, yeah, it was a great time, versus if it was difficult emotions, it was a really hard time. There's a whole way to unpack emotions as well. But for this, we're going to just take those top three challenges. And now here is a shortcut. Again, if you want more information about transformative reprogramming of the mind, I'll add some links at the end. But here, what we want to do is just take the fast track for your unconscious mind. The unconscious mind works in story, imagery, picture, symbolism, and metaphor and feelings more than words. In our brainy society and our over-intellectualized culture, we get very much in our head about how things work and why they work. and our language. And definitely our language patterns are part of how our mind codes and processes things. But the primary language of your mind, body, soul system is the same as your unconscious mind. Story, imagery, metaphor, symbolism, and feelings. So we're going to just work with that level. So here's a short meditation, just a visualization, really. Then I want you to imagine packaging all of that first challenge that you went through this past year into a bundle, and you might give it a color. Everything associated with that first challenge, you might give it a color. And maybe it doesn't have a color because that's kind of a visual. Maybe it has a sense of it. Maybe it has a feeling to it, a texture of it. Maybe it seems like a spiky ball. Maybe it has a, a hue to it. Maybe it has a darkness, a lightness, a heaviness. Just get a sense of what would be represented by that challenge. And now in your mind's eye, imagine packaging that up, and we're going to ship it out to recycle, out to the light of the sun. And when I'm doing the recycling on my own, often I'll just make that hand gesture because that in itself is symbolic. Shipping it out to recycle, out to that place, the light of the sun for the purposes of recycling, where the positive lessons and learnings are being extracted from even that. And a healing light is coming back to you, bringing back to you pearls of wisdom in your hand. These pearls of wisdom are the positive lessons and learnings as new seeds of wisdom. So you might notice from recycling that challenge, maybe there are multiple pearls of wisdom. Maybe there's just one. We're going to look at the first one in your mind's eye, holding it up. Notice, what does that challenge represent? What does that pearl of wisdom represent? The positive lessons and learnings. Maybe there's a single word to represent that seed of wisdom. Maybe there's a phrase like, believe in myself. Be clear with myself. Whatever it is, just notice whatever that first pearl of wisdom represents for you. Just kind of tuck it into your hand. And now we can just tuck it into the back of your head and ask your mind to apply that pearl of wisdom to all of the places that had been experiencing the difficulty, that had been feeling the challenge. And now we're going to take the second challenge from last year, again, creating a bundle about it. Maybe it has a color, a texture, maybe there's a heaviness, a lightness to it. Whatever it is, packaging it up into that bundle and shipping it out to the light of the sun for the purposes of recycling, to be recycled, where the positive lessons and learnings are being extracted from even that. And that healing river of light is coming back to you with new seeds of wisdom. And in your hands, noticing those pearls of wisdom showing up for you. How many do you see? We'll just look at the first few. Holding that first pearl of wisdom up, notice, what does that one represent? What is the positive lesson and learning that that seed of wisdom represents? And now you can imagine tucking it into the background of your mind, and your unconscious mind takes that pearl of wisdom and it can make a copy of it and take it into all of the places, levels, ages of you that had been feeling challenged, that had been feeling the difficulty of that challenge. As if your unconscious mind could just make a copy of the pearl of wisdom, the positive learning, and take it into all the places, levels, ages of you that had felt the difficulty of that challenge. As your unconscious mind is updating that to all places, levels, ages of you. That might take a moment. You might just listen in the background of your mind. Some people feel like the mind is sorting, updating in the background. Okay. And now packaging up all of that third challenge into a bundle. And again, get a sense of it. Maybe it's a color, an image, a feeling, a texture, heaviness. Maybe it's a shape. Just get a sense of whatever that would be, packaging it into that bundle and shipping it out for the purposes of recycling, out to the place, the light of the sun, to be recycled, where the positive lessons and learnings are being extracted, removing that. And the healing river of light is coming back to you now. The healing river of light is bringing back the new seeds of wisdom, the positive lessons and learnings to replace the old difficulty so that your mind, body, spirit system becomes more free, more clear. And as you have the new seeds of wisdom, the positive lessons and learnings, it actually gives you the greater edge to learn and grow forward, to carry the positive learnings forward, but all of the difficulty, all of the negativity can be left behind. And again, notice those new seeds of wisdom showing up in your hands. You might see multiple, you might see just one. And in your mind's eye, imagine holding up that seed of wisdom, the first one. What does that one represent? Thoughts, pictures, images, words, feelings. That's the primary language of your unconscious mind. Just notice, what does that represent? Maybe it's a sense of something. Maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's some way you recognize, you strengthen something within yourself. More conviction to your purpose, more commitment, more focus. Whatever it is. And again, we're going to ask your unconscious mind, your automatic mind, to just make copy of that and update it through all the places, levels, ages of you as your unconscious mind is updating. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open the lines here to just connect in about that. Well, actually, we're at 7 o'clock. So if I'm keeping it down to an hour, we just have a few moments here. So go ahead and drop in the chat as you feel comfortable if there was a challenge that turned into a lesson. Now, this is a key way that your automatic mind, that you can keep it from getting stuck in the conflict and the chaos, because the unconscious mind, when we go through an experience, it will often project the past into the future unless we process it, unless we help the mind shift from the difficulty, the negativity of it, to the positive lesson and learning. And when we talk about the layers of the mind, we talked about the conscious mind, that's our personality self, our day-to-day awareness. And we have kind of a certain agenda. And our conscious personality self says, like, there's a checklist to life. There's things to have in place. There's things that I want to be on track with. Maybe want to be on track with a spouse, a partner. Maybe it's being on track with a religious system of what's required for you. Maybe it's being on track with being a good mom, or what it means to be a good daughter, a good son. So our conscious personality cells kind of have these checklists, whether we're aware of them or not. They can come from our culture. They can come from what was emphasized as we were growing up. They can come from our religious circles. They can come from our community or where we live. And then our unconscious mind is kind of just running the same scripts, and it's just running, and especially if we have old stuff that hasn't been processed, it's just running those as scripts, often playing them out over and over in new cycles. But there's also a deeper script, that a deeper element that hasn't been as strongly identified. And that is kind of that expanse from the expansive self, from the soul self, from that deeper um, sense of who we are, what we're meant to do or be, and how that informs our unconscious mind and how that informs our personality self. And that's what I would call the soul's agenda. That the soul's agenda, ultimately, the bigger umbrella, it's really here for learning and growth. And in that learning and growth, the soul will sometimes prioritize the challenge over keeping what's familiar, will prioritize blowing up our relationship or destroying our business or sabotaging our career, because it's really focusing on the recognition of continued learning and growth. And so when I talk about that, I know it can sound a little negative at the soul's perspective, but it's more like, it's not that the soul is a saboteur. It's just that your conscious awareness of what's important and your soul's agenda might be misaligned for what you're really wanting to create. So how do we tap into that more expansive recognition of what is good to focus on, what our focus is, what our priorities are? Yes, we can bring our conscious awareness to the things that we want to create, but often when we're setting our goals at a conscious level, our goals are based on what we think we don't have. Here's kind of, and they can also be misdirected or not in alignment with what we really want. So I'm going to share a story here. One story comes from Anna. We were doing a coaching session, and I asked Anna, go ahead and kind of define your top priority, your top goal. What do you want to create? And she said, oh, yeah, that's easy. I want to get a promotion at work. Okay, so we look at the goal. Maybe it's very clear, but we want more information. We want to understand what is that goal really based on. So I asked the coaching question, if you could have this promotion, what would that get for you? She's like, oh, that's easy. I would be able to make more money. And making more money, and sometimes we're often taking things at like we're not recognizing there's a higher perspective there. We're kind of recognizing, oh yeah, making more money, that's important, that's good. And so we kind of take it at face value. But if we keep asking the question, what does this get for you? It starts to tease out our higher priorities. So I asked, okay, making more money, what would that get for you? Oh, well, then I'd be able to take my son on trips. We could go to Disneyland. Okay, going to Disneyland, what would that get for you? Oh, well, we could have a good time and, just really enjoy vacations together. And what does that get for you? Oh, well, then we'll have quality time with my son. And what does that get for you? Then I'll be a good mom. And what does that get for you? Then I'll have the love and connection with my son. So we can recognize that at the conscious personality level, the goal was to make more money or to get the promotion to make more money. And then you can hear there's all these steps so that I could go to Disneyland, have a vacation with my son, so that I can spend quality time with my son, so that I can have be a good mom and have a good connection with my son. So you might even be hearing in that example how the original goal of going for the promotion could actually be at odds with quality time with her son, which is what she really wanted, right? And so if we pick the goal, so for instance, if Anna were to pick the goal, getting the promotion, and not pay attention to the higher reason she actually wanted the goal in the first place, for quality time and connection with her son, then she could be putting extra hours in at work taking away from the very connection that she really wanted. But we can also use this to help inform and build our more expansive way in our life. So if she were to continue going for the promotion and the goal, she could do that, but with having awareness that she really is wanting to build that quality connection time with her son. So what was in her experience, I asked her, what is a way that you can build that quality time and connection with your son now, even while you're in the process of this, personality driven goal? She said, oh, well, I think 15 minutes of reading before bedtime together. That would be a really good bet. So you can see how in just that example that we could be missing the ultimate focus, that our personality, why our mind picked the goal in the first place. We could be missing that focus if we're not paying attention to the deeper reasons of why our mind actually picked that goal. So there's one way to start transforming your goals. And you might even create a list. What are the things that you're wanting to create for yourself this year? And I like to go through the life balance wheel, and it takes a good bit of time. So I'll send this out in the email, the follow-up email and the replay, but just kind of picking an area. I'll read them here just so you have an awareness of which areas. So my life balance wheel is divided into 8. I put you in the center because how you operate is central to how everything else in your life flows. So there's the area of fun and recreation, the area of finances, the area of career, love and romance, health, friends and family, work and home, personal and spiritual growth. So if you think about just one area that you would like to move forward in this coming year, just write it down. And you probably already have a goal kind of in your mind, a goal that would work with moving that area forward. So for instance, health. Okay, if my area is health, I know something that I can do to improve my health is have regular exercise every day. Even if it's a small way to do it, regular exercise. And I would say maybe it's 15 minutes of just getting some cardio in, going for a walk, just 15 minutes. So that sounds like an easy enough goal to fit in. And why do I want that? Oh, so that I have health. Why do you want health? So I have energy to do the things I want to do. What does that get for you? Oh, it gets feeling expansiveness. It gets more energy to move things forward in my life. It gives me a sense of openness to being in the world and being available. It kind of moves my energy to be more open and innovative, able to open up to possibility and opportunities. So you can arrive at what that higher purpose of your goal is by asking that question. When you pick your goal, what does that get? What does that get? Just keep asking that phrase, what does that get? And you'll start to recognize these higher purposes behind your goal. And typically with our personality selves, we're picking our goals from what we feel we lack. So a lot of people aren't motivated to work on health until there's a health issue. We're not motivated to do weight loss until we recognize that there's some problem. And for a lot of us, that's kind of how these areas flow. We're not focusing on making a change until we're starting to accumulate more debt than we want. We're not recognizing the career that we want until we're recognizing that we're feeling dissatisfied or unfulfilled. So that's one way of working with that life balance wheel. And now we're going to go through a guided meditation that we're going to clear the stuff of the past, bring those positive lessons and learnings forward, and we're going to use that to pave the way into the positive future. So this will take 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll open up the lines and we can chat about what you got through each of the segments as we went through tonight. So you can share. So before this, go ahead, sit back and relax. Allow yourself to get comfortable. And I've been adding even more so kind of a sequence of relaxation, but also bringing in the healing light, which cleans our mental space, our clutter. But it also has the added effect of kind of clearing out our energy space, clearing out our emotional space, and clearing even to a level of spiritual clarity and insight, kind of peaks the intuitive mind. So go ahead, sit back and relax and get comfortable. I like to bring shoulders to the ears. Breathe in and release. And again, bringing shoulders to the ears and release. And one more deep clearing breath, breathing in, filling up your lungs, gathering up stress, tension, and release it as you exhale. Letting go of the stress and the cares of the day, letting go of the outside world, and just relaxing into your own inner world. Just relaxing. You might put a hand on your heart, a hand on your solar plexus, just reminding your mind to be in this moment, right here, right now, and allowing yourself to just relax into the present moment. And now just breathing easily and naturally. Notice the flow of breath. Notice the ease of it. And as you continue to notice that easy flow of breath that your body knows just the right timing, as you continue to notice that flow, and now also noticing a healing light, much like the light of the sun washing down through the top of your head, letting it pour through your face as if it's washing through your brain, your mind, letting it clear out the mental clutter. You might imagine shipping that out to recycle, and that healing light washing down through your neck, your shoulders, down through your arms, your elbows, to your wrists, to your fingertips, feeling that healing light pour through your chest, through your back, letting it wash through your body as it flows down through your stomach, through your pelvis. You can feel it, notice it as it's pouring down through into your thighs, to your knees. Now sending it down through your shins, your calves, all the way to your ankles and the bottoms of your feet. So you can feel that healing light coming in through the top of your head. And I even recognize sometimes I get kind of like the dust collects in my intuitive connection. So I imagine just as if like a bank tube, and from the top of my head all the way up to higher wisdom and insight. And I just imagine sending stuff to be sucked out of that tube so I can just feel the clarity and lightness come down. You might even do that, or you can also imagine like a vacuum from space, just vacuuming out any interference, any old thoughts, negative thoughts, ideas, as if you just vacuum it all out and ship it out to recycle. So you can feel that healing light down through the top of your head, through your face, through your neck, through your shoulders, letting it pour down through your arms, to your wrists, to your fingertips, letting it wash through your body, feeling it pour through the core of your body, down through your legs, all the way to your shins, your calves, to your bottoms of your feet. And you can imagine packaging up anything to recycle, ship it out to recycle, that healing light coming back. And now as you feel that clarity and lightness from the top of your head to the bottoms of your feet, you can even feel it as if it's washing through your feet, down into the ground, into the earth, as if your feet are like roots of a tree, all the way into the center of the earth, and as if your roots are pulling up the energy of the earth, nourished from the earth beneath you, and feeling enlightened from the sun above you. These energies mix in the core of you, let them radiate throughout. And now just feeling as if that clarity and lightness is soaking into your muscles and tissues, soaking into your very bones, lighting up the inner core of who you are with that brightness that is you. And you might feel that brightness of you expand out around you, much like a bubble. And in that bubble, imagine as if you're now just drifting in that bubble all the way to the middle of a beautiful meadow. In your mind's eye, you can see the blue sky overhead. You can see the green of the grass, the color of flowers, and letting that bubble just carry you to the center of the meadow. And at the center of the meadow, you see a roadway stretching in both directions. One direction represents the past, the other represents the future. Being in the present moment, looking back into the past. You look into the past, you can see there might have been some boulders. There might have been some difficult times. There might have been some big challenges. And in your mind's eye, imagine that clarity and healing light as if it's washing through you, sending it out to clear out the past, as if that healing light can just take all of those boulders and ship them out to recycle, and that healing light coming back. And you might notice those pearls of wisdom showing up in your hands, those new seeds of wisdom as they're coming forward to your hands, recognizing what last year helped strengthen within you. How did it move your life forward? It might have felt like a setback, but in some ways, it strengthened something within you. So even if it was something difficult, like loss of a job, maybe it strengthened belief in yourself within you. Just notice as you're adding all of those new seeds of wisdom, bringing them into focus, into your hands. And your unconscious mind can do this for you. Again, its language is story, imagery, metaphor, symbolism, and feeling. And now just being in the present moment, and as you feel as if your mind is just bringing forward those pearls of wisdom from the past. Now you might see your hands just overflowing with these pearls of wisdom, and now looking out into the positive future. As you look into the positive future with these pearls of wisdom, and now we're going to send those pearls of wisdom into the future to pave the way ahead of you. That all of the traction, all of the momentum from last year, you get to move it forward into the positive future, and imagine it as you're looking into the positive future like that roadway. And these pearls of wisdom are just duplicating out along the positive future, all the way forward. And now in your mind's eye, feeling the recognition of what some of those seeds of wisdom are. Maybe it's belief in yourself. Maybe it's strengthening your communication. Maybe it's strengthening your recognition of what's important, your priorities, your boundaries. And just taking this forward as your mind is building into the future from these strengths of you and moving it forward through the rest of today and into tomorrow. And you can imagine it, notice it, feel it as that healing light is just paving the way forward, carrying it forward into the positive future. And you might even add to your highest and best timeline, into your highest and best timeline, taking it through today, tomorrow, the next day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years into the positive future. From that place, 3 years in the positive future, you can recognize things are coming to fruition and just dial it back to 1 year into the positive future. So next year, and in your mind's eye, as if you can just look back and recognize, what flowers do you see along the way? What's blooming in your path? Now we're using metaphor and symbolism to activate the unconscious mind and the recognition of what's your priority. What are your expansive, intuitive priorities? 1 year into the future, what accomplishments are coming to fulfillment? And now let's just look into the emotional system. What things are coming into satisfaction? What's coming into alignment? And now from that positive future, 1 year in the positive future, as if you're looking back to where you are now in the present moment, and you might see some markers along your way. You might see some opportunities. You might see some flowers. You might see some trees. Trees can symbolize strengths. Trees can symbolize stability, growth. Whatever you notice, just notice what comes up. And now from that positive future self, turn around, look back at yourself, and give yourself some good advice about moving forward. And just pay attention to notice good advice for yourself. From that place of clarity, wisdom, insight. And now we're going to also feel that healing light wash through your head, your neck, your shoulders, into your heart. And even take your awareness into your heart. 1 year into the positive future, what does your heart say is important about this new year? And maybe even take your awareness into your gut. It's kind of a deeper knowing felt sense into your gut. What does your gut say about what's important? What's priority in this year? Maybe you get a sense, a feeling. You might even get a picture, an image, a symbol. And if you get an image or a symbol, just tuck it into your hands to carry it with you. And now all of that good advice, giving yourself some good advice about moving forward in the coming year, carrying it all the way back to yourself on the timeline, being in the present moment. As you do, your unconscious mind is creating the roadmap for carrying these positive ways forward. And coming all the way back to the present moment as your unconscious mind is updating to all those places, levels, ages of you. All right. So if there's anything that still feels unsettled as you look back into 2025, you can go through this recording again, and you might even just focus on it. Like, this thing happened and it just feels like conflict or like chaos, or my mind's having a hard time making sense of it. So you can go through this process again until it feels really clear. And by doing this visualization, it really helps your automatic mind to put into context our learning and our growth, and also to allow that learning and growth to inform us of what opens up into the possibility of what's next, rather than shutting ourselves down because of past history or reflecting into the future, the challenges that we've had in the past. So as your unconscious mind is able to recognize and take in the positive lessons and learnings, now we have new footing for that traction in what we're building forward. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the lines here.